Chapter 1. Achieving growth is the best way to reach your potential. One of the most beautiful words in any language is potential. It looks forward to optimism. It is filled with hope. It promises success. It implies fulfillment. It hints at greatness. Potential is a word based on possibilities. Everyone has potential. There are people with unfilled potential too. Everyone desires to reach their potential. You can do this by growing. And to grow, you must be highly intentional about it. God's gift to us is our potential. Our gift to Him is developing it. This book is an effort to help you learn how to grow and develop yourself, so you have the best chance of becoming the person you were created to be. John C. Maxwell desires to help you develop the right attitude, learn more about your strengths, tap into your passion, become more in touch with your purpose, and develop your skills so you can be all you can be. This book will help you understand how personal growth works, and it will help you become a more effective and fulfilled individual. You don't need to be part of a team to grow, although it helps. You just need to be someone who wants to grow and become better than you are today. Growth is all around, in purpose, in self-awareness, in relationships, and spirituality. To discover your purpose, you need to grow in self-awareness. To become a better human being, you need to grow in character. To move in your career, you need to grow in your skills. To be a better spouse or parent, you need to grow in relationships. To reach your financial goals, you need to grow in your knowledge about how money works. To enrich your soul, you need to grow spiritually. The scientifics of growth changes from person to person, but the principles are the same for every person. This book offers laws that will teach you how to approach the worthy goal of growing. It is a key that unlocks the door. You cannot change your life until you change something you do every day. By learning the laws and then living them, you will be on your way to reaching your potential. Did you know? According to one expert, the earliest recorded version of the saying, "Experience is the teacher of all things," came from Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, who wrote in De Bello Civili, and people have been using this saying for over 2,000 years. Chapter 2. The Law of Intentionality proves that growth doesn't just happen. Anyone who has dreams, goals, or aspirations needs to grow to achieve them. You must become intentional about growth if you want to make your goals and fulfill purpose. Some mistaken beliefs create gaps that keep you from growing and reaching your potential. Some of these misconceptions about growth include: the assumption gap makes you assume that you will automatically grow. Many people carry into adulthood a belief that mental, spiritual, and emotional growth comes on its own. However, we don't improve by simply living. We have to be intentional about it. The knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. If you are clear with what you want, the world responds with clarity. Loretta Staples. Many people learn only from the school of hard knock. Painful experiences teach them lessons the hard way. Life lessons make people change, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. It's much better to plan your growth intentionally. You decide where you need to grow, you choose what you will learn, and you follow through with discipline, going at the pace you set. The timing gap. It is not the right time to begin. Most people don't act as quickly as they should on things. They find themselves subject to the Law of Diminishing Intent, which says, the longer you wait to do something you should do now, the greater the odds that you will never actually do it. The mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. Growing means admitting you don't have the answers. It requires making mistakes. If you want to grow, you need to get over any fear you may have of making mistakes. A mistake is simply another way of doing things. Warren Bennis. To become intentional about growing, expect to make mistakes every day and welcome them as a sign that you are moving in the right direction. The perfection gap. I have to find the best way before I start. Similar to the mistake gap is the perfection gap, the desire to find the best way to get started in a growth path. However, you have to get started if you want to find the best way. The inspiration gap. I don't feel like doing it. Motivation to keep doing things comes after you start, and this makes it easy for you to keep on doing it. Did you know? Charlie Brown in Charles Schulz's Peanuts comic strip once fell for the assumption gap. He once said, "I think I've discovered the secret of life. You just hang around until you get used to it." The problem is that we don't improve by simply living. We have to be intentional about it. Chapter 3. You must make the transition to intentional growth. It is better to make the transition to becoming intentional about your personal growth. Growth compounds and accelerates if you remain intentional about it. Here's how to make the change. Ask the big question now. Ask yourself the question, how far can I go? You may not be able to answer the problem yet, but it will help you set the direction, if not the distance. Where do you want to go in life? What direction do you want to go? What's the farthest you can imagine going? No one can produce great things who is not thoroughly sincere in dealing with himself. James Russell Lowell. Answering those questions will get you started on the personal growth journey. The best you can hope to do in life is to make the most out of whatever you've been given. You do that by investing in yourself, making yourself the best you can be. Give growing your best so you can become your best. Do it now. Face the fear factor. Change from accidental to intentional growth. People like remaining in their comfort zone. They get a smooth groove and they don't try to break out of it, even when it's taking them in the wrong direction. After a while, they just get by. If they learn something, it's because of a happy accident. Don't let that happen to you. The only difference between a rut and a grave is the length. Do not get in a rut. If you want to reach your potential and become the person you were created to be, you must do much more than just experience life and hope that you learn what you need along the way. You must go out of your way to seize growth opportunities as if your future depended on it. Growth doesn't just happen. Not for me, not for you, not for anybody. You have to go after it. The Law of Awareness. To grow, you must know yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, your interests and opportunities. You must be able to gauge not only where you've been, but also where you are now. Otherwise, you cannot set a course for where you want to go. Every time you want to learn something, you must be able to take the new thing you've learned today and build upon what you learned yesterday to keep growing. Did you know? Most people underestimate the unimportance of nearly everything in their lives. They get distracted. As a result, they put growth on the back burner. And if they do grow, it happens accidentally instead of intentionally. Chapter 4. The Law of Awareness requires that you know where you are and where you are going. There are only 3 kinds of people when it comes to having direction in life. People who don't know what they would like to do. These people are often confused. They lack a strong sense of purpose. People who know what they would like to do but don't do it. These people are usually frustrated. Every day they experience the gap between where they are and where they want to be. People who know what they would like to do and do it. The third kind of people know themselves, possess strong passion, grow in areas that help them move closer to their purpose, and do what they were created to do. If you want to grow, you must know yourself and accept who you are. Here are questions to help you start working through that process. The first step toward change is awareness. The second step is acceptance. Nathaniel Branden. Number 1, do you like what you're doing now? Number 2, what will you like to do? Number 3, can you do what you like to do? Number 4, do you know why you want to do what you like to do? Number 5, do you know what to do so you can do what you want to do? Number 6, do you know people who do what you'd like to do? There is a direct connection between finding your passion and reaching your potential. To be successful, you must possess a deep sense of your unique abilities and aspirations. There are 2 great days in a person's life: the day you were born and the day you discover why. Seek what you were put on this earth to do, then pursue it with all your effort. The law of the mirror proves that you must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. Everyone has the seed of success in them. All they need to do is cultivate those seeds, water them, and they will begin to grow. Many people have failed to reach their potentials because of low self-esteem. They don't believe in themselves. Low self-esteem puts a ceiling to your potential. And sadly, you can't do better than your self-image. If you put a small value on yourself, rest assured the world will not raise the price. If you want to become the person you have the potential to be, you must believe you can. No factor is more important in people's psychological development and motivation than the value judgments they make about themselves. Nathaniel Branden. Did you know? If your desire is a 10 but your self-esteem is a 5, you'll never perform at the level of a 10. You'll perform as a 5 or lower. People are never able to outperform their self-image. Chapter 5. Suggestions to help you develop your self-image in order to add value to yourself. Nathaniel Branden, a psychiatrist and expert on the subject of self-esteem, says, "No factor is more important in people's psychological development and motivation than the value judgments they make about themselves." Every aspect of their lives is impacted by the way they see themselves. If you believe you are worthless, then you won't add value to yourself. Some of the ways you can develop a positive mindset are: guard your self-talk. Whether you know it or not, you have a running conversation with yourself all the time. What is the nature of yours? Do you encourage yourself, or do you criticize yourself? If you are positive, then you help to create a positive self-image. If you're negative, you undermine your self-worth. Negative and critical self-talk usually comes from our upbringing. Stop comparing yourself to others. Identify and move away from limiting beliefs. Add value to others. Do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing. Practice a small discipline daily in a specific area of your life. Embrace a positive vision for your life based on what you value. If you have a positive vision for your life and you take action to fulfill that vision, then your self-esteem will improve, and you will readily recognize that your life matters. Practice the one-word strategy. If you had to describe yourself with one word, what would it be? Answering this question helps you to get inspired and focused on what describes you best. Take responsibility for your life. The law of reflection explains that learning to pause allows growth to catch up with you. There are different ways of growing and an infinite number of lessons to be learned in life. But some kinds of growth come to us only if we are willing to stop, pause, and allow the experts to catch up with us. Below are the powers of a pause. Reflection helps you to turn your experience into insight. Pausing and reflecting helps you to learn from your past experiences. Everyone needs a time and place to pause. If someone is going down the wrong road, he doesn't need the motivation to speed up. He needs to stop. Pausing with intention expands and enriches thinking. Follow effective action with quiet reflection. From the quiet reflection will come even more effective action. Peter F. Drucker. Study the lives of the great people who have made an impact on the world, and you will find that in virtually every case, they spent a considerable amount of time alone thinking. When you take time to pause, your thinking should involve investigation, incubation, illumination, and illustration. Your goal in personal growth is reaching your potential. To do that, you need to keep pausing, keep asking questions, and keep growing every day. Did you know? Businessmen authors John Assaraf and Murray Smith said that by the time you're 17 years old, you've heard "no you can't" an average of 150,000 times. You've heard "yes you can" 5,000 times. That's 30 no's for every yes. That makes for a powerful belief of "I can't." Chapter 6. The Law of Consistency ascertains that discipline keeps you growing. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how many opportunities you get. If you want to grow, consistency is vital. If you want to become more disciplined and consistent in your performance, you need to become more disciplined and consistent in your growth. How can you do that? Consider the following 4 questions about your growth. Do you know what you need to improve? Journalist and author George Lorimer remarked, "You've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction." That's true, but it's important to know where to direct that determination. You've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. George Lorimer. Do you know how you're supposed to improve? 4 simple ways to get started with improvements are: 1. Match your motivation to your personality type: sanguine, choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic. Start with the simple stuff. Number 2. Start with the simple stuff. Number 3. Be patient. Number 4. Value the process. Do you know why you want to keep improving? Knowing what to improve and how to improve are critical to consistency in personal growth. But so is knowing why. The how and what will take you only so far. The why is what keeps you motivated long after that first rush of energy and enthusiasm wears off. It can carry you through when willpower isn't enough. Think of it as why power. Do you know when you are supposed to grow? When do you need to improve? First, the obvious answer: right now, today. Author and education professor Leo Buscaglia noted, "Life lived for tomorrow will always be just a day away from being realized." So you need to get started if you haven't yet. More important, you need today to be every day. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The more questions you have for pursuing personal growth daily, the more likely you will be to follow through. Chapter 7. The Law of Environment proves that you must change environments to one conducive for growth. If you want to grow to reach your potential, You must be in the right environment. That usually requires you to make changes in your life. Change depends on your choices, and although you can't change some things about yourself, such as where you were born, you need to make the following 6 choices to put yourselves in a better place for growth. Assess your current environment. Change yourself and your environment. If you know what you need to make a significant change to your environment, then there's something you must keep in mind. You must determine to change yourself at the same time. If you try to change yourself but not your environment, growth will be slow and difficult. Change your environment but not yourself. Growth will be slow and less difficult. When you change your environment and yourself, growth will be faster and more successful. The first step towards success is taken when you refuse to be a captive of the environment you first find yourself in. Mark Cain. Change who you spend your time with. We become the combined average of the 5 people we hang around the most. Challenge yourself in your new environment. Focus on the moment. Move forward despite criticism. Did you know? According to research by social psychologist Dr. David McClelland of Harvard, the people with whom you habitually associate are called your reference group, and these people determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. Chapter 8. The Law of Design proffers that you must develop strategies to achieve growth. The Law of Design is directed towards maximizing growth by developing strategies. If you don't design your life plan, you'll fall into someone else's idea. You must not allow your life to just happen. You must develop a sense of urgency and a pro-strategic mindset. As you plan and develop strategies for your life and growth, here are some of the things that can help you. Life is very simple, but keeping it that way is very difficult. Life is simple, but life has a way of becoming complicated, and it is also through great effort that we can keep it simple. Designing your life is more important than designing your career. If you design your life well, other things such as a career will work itself out. If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they may have planned for you? Not much. Jim Rohn. Life is not a dress rehearsal. We don't get a rehearsal for life. We have to do the best we can do at the moment. In planning your life, multiply everything by 2. As you develop strategies for growth, give yourself the time and resources you need. Whatever amounts seem reasonable to you, multiply them by 2. That practice will help to keep you from becoming discouraged and giving up too soon. Accomplishments in life come if you approach them strategically. A haphazard approach to anything hardly succeeds. You can accomplish something strategically on a consistent basis by creating and using systems. Your systems and strategies must not be complicated so that they are achievable. The law of the ladder explains that character growth determines the height of your personal growth. To be successful, you have to think like a success. Character growth determines the height of your personal growth. And without personal growth, you can never reach your potential. Good character with honesty and integrity brings success in any organization. Achievement to most people is something you do. To the high achiever, it is something you are. Doug Firebaugh. Climbing the ladder of character involves focusing on being better on the inside than on the outside. Following the golden rule. People matter. Teaching what you believe. Valuing humility above all virtues. Striving to finish well. Did you know? Our reputation comes from what others believe about our outside. Our character represents who we are on the inside. And the good news is that if you focus on being better on the inside than on the outside, over time you will also become better on the outside. Chapter 9. The law of the rubber band states that growth stops when you stop stretching. Human beings are like rubber bands. We become useful when stretched. However, growth becomes hard because most people hate to be stretched. Innovation and progress are often initiated by people who push for change. Only a mediocre person is always at his best. W. Somerset Maugham. Stretching gives you a shot at significance. Be strategic to maintain the tension between where you are and where you could be by continually resetting intermediate range goals for yourself. If goals are too immediate, you lose the tension when you achieve them quickly. The Law of Tradeoffs explains that you have to give up to grow up. Life has many intersections, opportunities to go up or down. At these intersections, we make choices. We can add something to our life, subtract from it, or exchange something we have for something we don't. The most successful people know when to do which one of those 3. People will cling to an unsatisfactory way of life rather than change in order to get something better for fear of getting something worse. Eric Hoffer. Some insights about trade-offs. Trade-offs are available to you throughout life. You must learn to see them as opportunities for growth. Trade-offs force you to make personal changes. The higher you go, the tougher the trade-offs. Not all trade-offs are worth it. You must discern which is worthwhile. The law of curiosity proffers that growth is stimulated by asking why. Curiosity helps a person to think and expand possibilities beyond the ordinary. It leads to discovery, and it takes people beyond the ordinary, leading them to extraordinary living. Suggestions for developing our curiosity. Believe you can be curious. Have a beginner's mindset. My greatest strength as a consultant is to be ignorant and ask a few questions. Peter Drucker. Spend time with other curious people. Learn something new every day. Get over yourself. Get off the box. The curiosity of successful people knows no bounds. When you're curious, the entire world opens up to you, and there are few limits on what you can learn and how you can develop. Did you know? According to publisher David Godine, a third of high school graduates never read another book for the rest of their lives. 42% of college graduates never read a book after college, and only 32% of the U.S. population has ever been in a bookstore. Chapter 10. The law of modeling proves that it's hard to improve when you have no one but yourself to follow. It is easier to improve and grow when you have a good mentor. We become like the people we admire. Here are some tips discovering if someone is a good mentor. They are always available. They have experience in the area you need. All leaders are influenced by those they admire. Reading about them and studying their traits allows an inspiring leader to develop his leadership traits. A good mentor possesses wisdom. A good mentor offers friendship. A good mentor is a coach who makes a difference in people's lives. No matter who you are, what you have accomplished, or how low or high your life has taken you, you can benefit from having a mentor. If you've never had one, you have no idea how much it can improve your life. If you have had mentors, then you already know, and you should start passing it on by becoming a mentor to others. The law of expansion proffers that growth always increases your capacity. There is no limit to a person's potential. When someone is pursuing their dream, they'll go far beyond what seems to be their limitations. The possibility that exists within us is limitless and largely untapped. You can push toward your potential and keep increasing your capacity by including others and learning how to work with people. How to increase your capacity. Stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. Stop thinking can I, start thinking how can I. Stop thinking one door and start thinking many doors. The law of expansion is about learning, growing, and increasing your capacity. You can increase your capacity for actions if you stop doing only those things you have done before and start doing those things you could and should do. Stop doing what is expected and start doing more than is expected. You have the potential to keep increasing your capacity for life if you have the right attitude to growth. The law of contribution states that growing yourself enables you to grow others. Adding value to other people is a great priority. You can increase your chances of being able to help others and make a significant contribution in your lifetime by thinking of yourself as a river instead of a reservoir. A river flows, and whatever water it receives, it gives away. That's the way we should be as we learn to grow. Some suggestions to cultivate the habit of contribution include: be grateful. Put people first. Don't let stuff own you. Don't let people own you. Define success as sowing, not reaping. Keep growing to keep giving. If you're not doing something with your life, it doesn't matter how long it is. Decide to put others ahead of your agenda. Put your family and the development of people at the workplace ahead of your advancement. Did you know? Every morning, Ben Franklin asked himself, "What good shall I do today?" And in the evening, "What good have I done today?" Conclusion. There is no limit to growth, and every successful person knows this. The only way to increase your capacity internally is to change the way you approach personal growth. Learning more information isn't enough. You must change how you think, and you must change your actions. If you keep learning and growing every day for many years, you will be astounded by how far it will take you. When setting goals for growth, make sure they are not too lofty. so that they don't seem too difficult to achieve and become discouraging. Make the decision to put others ahead of your own agenda. Put your family ahead of your own agenda. Put the development of people at the workplace ahead of your own advancement. Serve others instead of yourself. Commit to it, and then invite others in your life to hold you accountable. And remember, sometimes the seeds you sow take a long time to grow, but you always see a harvest. Try this. Keep a growth journal. Spend some time recalling the last 5 bad experiences you've had in your life. Write down each experience, along with what you learned from it. Then, evaluate whether you decided to make changes based on what you learned and rate yourself on how well you did at implementing those changes in your life. Once you've assessed each bad experience, give yourself a score on how well you managed those experiences. If you fail, you need to work more on turning your pain to gain and incorporate what you're learning into your everyday life.